Day 2 of the NATO summit in Romania focuses on partner countries negatively impacted by Russia's war in Ukraine.
Inflation in the Eurozone has slowed slightly this month, with prices coming off record highs and missing analyst expectations.
After Ukraine's stunning victory in Kherson, attention is quickly shifting to the strategic Kinburn Peninsula in the south of Ukraine.
It's day 2 of the NATO summit being held in the Romanian capital Bucharest. The focus today is on the impact that Russia's war in Ukraine is having on partner countries Bosnia-Herzegovina, Georgia and Moldova. All three have taken in refugees from the conflict, which is having a negative impact on their economies and energy supplies.
Our meeting shows the strong and growing cooperation between NATO and your respective countries at this challenging time. NATO and NATO allies have provided support to all three partners for many years, including with capacity building, reforms and training to strengthen their defence and security institutions.
NATO leaders have been discussing ways in which it might be able to assist further. Moldova in particular is facing a severe energy crisis due to its reliance on Russian energy. The two-day conference is also dealing with Sweden and Finland's membership applications and security and stability in the Black Sea region.
Soaring inflation in the Eurozone has dipped slightly but remains near record levels. The headline fell to 10% this month, down from 10.6% in October. It's the first decrease since June last year. A drop in fuel and utilities costs has eased pressure somewhat, but consumer goods, including food, alcohol and tobacco, continue to push higher, rising to 13.6%. Overall, inflation has surged since Russia's invasion of Ukraine, causing oil and gas prices to skyrocket. European economies have been hit particularly hard, as many countries still depend on Russian resources. Moscow has reduced flows of oil and gas through its pipelines, now trickling in response to Western sanctions, a move European leaders have called energy warfare.
Signs of destruction are everywhere in the Mykolaiv region of South Ukraine. But after the recapture of Kherson from Russia, Kyiv is pressing on. It now has its sights on the strategically important Kinburn Peninsula. It juts out from the south bank of the Dnieper River, possibly allowing Ukraine to outflank Russian soldiers if it's captured. But before that, mines need to be cleared. This Ukrainian army engineer says, "We have searched 2 hectares and found 50 mines. 10 of them were visible." Further away in the eastern Donetsk region, Ukrainian soldiers are using a multiple rocket launcher to target Russian supply lines. One soldier said, "We move to a position, take a position, deploy the car, aim and fire. After that, we quickly roll up and leave the shooting site." Meanwhile, Russia's defense ministry claims their troops have hit a Ukrainian weapons depot in Zaporizhia, as well as killing dozens of Ukrainian troops in the Donetsk region, in Kharkiv and in Kherson. It also says it shot down 9 Ukrainian unmanned drones. However, Kyiv's forces say they're determined to hold strong, despite the heavy Russian artillery bombardment.
The Islamic State has announced the death of its leader, Abu Hassan al-Hashimi al-Qurachi. The spokesman of the jihadist group said he was killed without elaborating on the date of his death or the circumstances behind it. Not much is known about al-Hashimi al-Qurachi except that he was Iraqi and 42 years old. The death comes less than a year after he was named caliph in March. The terrorist group no longer controls the large swaths of territory it did in Syria and Iraq during its peak between 2014 and 2018, but they still remain a security threat throughout the region.
Democracy is eroding across the world, according to a new report by the International Institute for Democracy and Electoral Assistance, or IDEA. The findings show more countries are moving away from democracy and towards authoritarianism. A bleak picture that's not just true for young and fragile countries, but also for long-established nations like India or the United States. The International IDEA Secretary General Kevin Casas-Zamora says Europe is doing well in general. Countries like Slovenia and Moldova have made remarkable progress recently. However, democratic standards in Europe tend to plateau, meaning progress is still possible but is not always achieved. This can lead to some disillusioned citizens seeking other ways to fulfill their expectations.
That dissatisfaction manifests itself in very strident political attitudes that often scapegoat parts of the population and embrace particularly the message of far-right parties.
Casas-Zamora encourages defending what embodies democratic societies such as free press, fair elections and checks and balances. Casas-Zamora also argues that societies need to continue to expand and renew democracy through initiatives like citizens' assemblies or youth activism. Across the world, many show examples of resilience when democracy is absent or under threat. Ukrainians resisting Russia's war of aggression, Iranian women fighting a theocratic dictatorship, or Chinese citizens protesting the government's zero-COVID policy. The report insists vigilance must prevail as the global state of democracy remains fragile and not in a better situation than it was in 1990.
Scientists are hailing a major breakthrough in the treatment of Alzheimer's after an experimental drug was proven to slow the progress of the brain disease. The results come following decades of failed attempts to find a way to do so, and has raised hopes that this could eventually lead to finding a cure.
The clinical trial results showed that lecanemab slowed the progression of disease, and we believe this provides hope to patients, caregivers, and physicians, stimulates further research into Alzheimer's and neurodegenerative diseases.
Nearly 2,000 people in the early stages of the disease took part in the international trial. But while it did slow their cognitive decline, its impact on people's daily lives is not yet clear.
We all understand that this is not a cure, and we're all trying to really grasp what it means to slow Alzheimer's, because this is a first. This is a first for us.
Currently, nearly all treatments available for Alzheimer's patients only temporarily ease symptoms. The disease accounts for more than 60% of the 55 million cases of dementia worldwide.
In Serbia, there is a looming problem over what to do with the dead, as many parts of the country are running out of burial space. This municipality in Belgrade has 15 cemeteries, but only 2 currently have free burial plots. Many have turned to burying their loved ones on their private territory. The shortage has also become a lucrative business for others.
This is a regular municipal cemetery in Vinča. Just outside you can see banners of people selling grave sites.
According to this headstone maker, some are even willing to pay a high price for a plot.
They sell the burial sites for around €500. It depends on where, but sometimes these spots can sell up to €1,500.
I'm at a cemetery in Vinča and I need a burial space.
There is a grave available for one person. It costs only €250.
Is this legal? Are we going to sign something?
I have several contracts.
In more crowded parts of the world, cremation is the norm, but in Serbia, this is not considered a traditional funerary practice.
Look at Slovenia. 90 or so % of the dead are cremated. It's the same in Czech Republic, Poland, Austria too. In their case, the state also encourages this because there is no land and it is too expensive to use to build new cemeteries. People should start thinking about that.
In Belgrade, the dead have to be buried in their place of residence. The city promised to build a graveyard, but this will take some time.